times have I done this, and I still hate it.
I swear Abbott's full enough already.
At least when you escort an inmate to death row, you know he's scheduled to get what he deserves.
Ernesto, you can really be a jackass. You know that?
You hear what this one did?
I don't want to know. And you know when
He beat his ex-wife to a bloody pulp. Killed her with his fists.
Look, I said I didn't...
Then he drowned one son in the tub and threw the other out a window. Don't ask me to cry for him.
Inmate, is this true?
Oh, he won't say. Claims he blacked the whole thing out. A likely story. The needle's too good for him. Filthy inmate. They should all die.
The Suffering is a PlayStation 2 psychological horror game that features both first-person and third-person gameplay. It came out in 2004 for the PlayStation 2 and other platforms. It sold a total of 1.5 million copies, and even a sequel was made called The Suffering: Ties That Bind, which was released in 2005. It features good gameplay, an enticing story, great horror atmosphere, and a wide variety of enemies, bosses, and weapons, and it has 3 different endings. In my opinion, I feel The Suffering is an underrated PS2 horror game that doesn't get talked about enough. The game feels like a combination between Silent Hill and Outlast, and I would highly recommend horror fans to check the game out for themselves. In this video, I will be focusing on reviewing enemies and bosses from the game. If you have any horror games or disturbing creatures or disturbing characters you would like me to cover, let me know down in the comments below or in my channel's Discord. I look forward to reading your suggestions. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It helps out a lot. Let's begin. You play as the protagonist, Torque, who is convicted of murdering his ex-wife and 2 kids. However, Torque claims to have blacked it out and doesn't remember anything. He is sentenced to death at the Abbott State Penitentiary on Carnate Island, located 10 miles off the shores of Maryland. The night Torque arrives, a powerful earthquake occurs that releases an army of monsters which invade the island and attack the prisoners and its staff. During this time, Torque's cell door breaks and he is freed from his cell. Torque's objective is to escape from Carnate Island. However, this is not an easy task, because he'll need to fight off monsters, prison guards, and supernatural horrors. The monsters are known as malefactors, which are incarnations of various forms of execution practiced on the island. Torque will also have to learn how to unlock his inner creature form, which will grant him the strength necessary to tear his enemies apart and help him escape, but at the expense of draining his health. Throughout the game, Torque encounters situations that will test his moral decisions. Usually, he'll have 3 options: the morally good decision, the morally bad decision, and the neutral decision. The game has 3 different endings, and the moral choices Torque makes throughout the game will influence which ending he gets. The choices Torque makes will also influence whether or not his dead wife and kids forgive him.
Inmate, back in your cell. Everything's under control.
Slayer malefactors are the representation of death by decapitation. Their heads are held hanging separate from their body, held by a structure made of flesh and steel. They have long blades for arms and legs, which allow them to climb walls and ceilings effectively. Slayers are a common enemy type found throughout the game. They're fast, agile creatures and should be dealt with immediately. They can be killed by either inmates or officers armed with ranged weapons. However, Slayers can regenerate any damage dealt to them, and they could also come back to life.
I can't see what's going on. I hear sounds, but when I shine the spot down there, it's like everything scampers out of the way. I can't see well enough. Shit, get away from me! Man, I killed it. But that thing's impossible. Like some kind of spider with swords. Goddamn inmates behind this, I know they are. Is anyone listening to me? I think maybe I just better stay up here where I'm stuck.
Their blades make a distinctive sound when they walk or crawl, alerting the player of their presence before seeing them. There are two types of slayers. The common ones have a single blade for arms and legs. The less common ones are larger and have compound blades, which they can use to block small arm fire, and they can also take more damage. They use their blades to attack their target and can attack while hanging from the ceiling as well.
Get back, damn you! Get away! Die! Die! More bugs! 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 You bastards!
Where the fuck are you? What's taking so long? Do it. Fucking do it! Just fucking kill me!
Marksmen are the representation of death by firing squad, representing both the firing squad and the executed. These malefactors are large, muscular creatures. When moving, they tend to either lumber around or gallop. They have tanned, decaying skin, covered in bullet wounds. They have a bald head and a blood-stained blindfold that covers their eyes, but it doesn't hinder their ability to see. They have 4 rifles attached to their back. They also have bayonets sticking out of their shoulders. Marksmen make a lumbering sound when they walk, alerting the player of their presence, but because of their large size, they're pretty easy to spot as well. Marksmen can sniper players from a long distance, so if the player is taking damage but an enemy is invisible, you're most likely being targeted by a marksman. Marksmen can also erupt from the ground, tied to a wooden post. Marksmen can take a lot of damage, and the best way you can kill a marksman is by shooting or cutting their limbs. Melee weapons are effective against marksmen, but it's risky. Marksmen can get down on all fours and fire their 4 rifles at the player, firing either 1 to 5 bursts or a constant stream of bullets like a machine gun. They also have a close range attack where bullet shrapnel bursts out of their wounds and chest.
Look at that mutant thing! Shit, what the hell is it?
Mainliners are common malefactors and are the representation of death by lethal injection. Mainliners are small humanoid creatures with orange skin. Their distinguishing feature is syringes. They have several green glowing syringes stuck in their back, and their eyes are replaced by syringes as well. They have deformed or missing limbs, some missing a hand or a leg. Because of this, they move by slithering on the ground in a disturbing manner. Their blood is green, made of the chemicals used in lethal injection shots, which causes them pain when they move. If you see corpses covered in syringes, pools of blood, or blood stains, these are signs that mainliners will appear. They can spawn from pools of blood and travel between them like portals.
Man, what is this shit on the floor? Looks like blood, but it's like it's breathing or something.
Mainliners make a guttural squawking sound when they see the player, alerting the player of their presence. Their main attack is to pull syringes from their back and throw them at the player, and they control long distances. They will also try to jump onto the player and attempt to stab the player in the neck with their syringe.
Where's this dripping coming? Yo, who that?
Newsmen are a torso, hanging by the neck from a rope. Their lower body is missing, and they can only attack with their arms when in range of the player. Their head is covered by a sack. and their skin has been removed. The newsmen are a representation of the prison's correctional officers who were lynched by the inmates as an act of revenge for allowing inmates trapped in the mines to die. For reference, the mines, known as the quarry by the locals, are located on Carnate Island. The mine is now abandoned, but rocks and stone extracted from the mine were used to build Carnate's prison and asylum. In one incident, correctional officers reported that the mine shaft had caved in, killing all the inmates within the mine. However, it's rumored that only the entrance of the mine caved in, and the correctional officers left the inmates trapped in the mine to slowly die.
Look out! You gotta help me!
Fucking inmates! They're not worth the trouble. Let them rot.
The newsmen spawn from large blood spots on the ceiling, which can be seen if you look up, although newsmen may be found already suspended in the air. You can avoid encountering newsmen by not walking under these blood spots. Since newsmen can appear an infinite amount of time from the same blood spot, it's best to just avoid them. The newsmen attack by dropping from the ceiling when a player walks underneath a blood spot. Then they try to grab the player. Once they grab the player, they will strangle the player until the player breaks free of them. After that, they will hang for a few seconds, which is when they're most vulnerable, before returning to the ceiling.
Don't get any closer! They can hear your footsteps!
Borrowers are humanoid malefactors that appear like a human body restrained within a worn-out restraint jacket, tightly constrained by leather straps. Attached to these leather straps are 4 long steel chains with sharp metal hooks at the tip. Their head is exposed, but it is contained within a metal-like structure. Borrowers, however, have exceptional hearing and can hear the player's footsteps. Borrowers are the representation of death by being buried alive, and are connected to the cave-in that occurred in the mines, where inmates were abandoned and left to die. Borrowers can move effectively underground, and a sign that borrowers are near is the ground being turned up around your feet. They can also be identified by the rumbling sound they make when moving below ground. However, when they aren't moving, they're silent, so be cautious. When encountering borrowers, it's best to stay mobile. When they emerge, move out of the way and blast them with a shotgun. A well-aimed blast should kill them in one hit. Borrowers use their long steel chains when they attack. Their basic attack is to emerge from below ground, whip their chains at the player, and then re-submerge below ground, and then repeating the attack again. Another common attack is when they emerge from below ground, with their chains spinning in a circular motion, hitting anything close to them. Feasters are large, bloated malefactors. They have molted gray skin which appears to be made of metal. They have several large, sewn-up cuts on their torso, with the largest one being on their stomach. Their white head is bloated and contained within a metal cage with spikes along the neck. They have metal braces on their wrists and ankles, and a large hook piercing their left hip. Their main weapon is a large metal ball and chain in their right hand. Inside their stomach, they have a colony of rats known as feastering rats that eat them from the inside. The feasters represent death by being eaten alive. Feasters are reincarnated slave traders who crashed their ship 100 years earlier on the shores of Carnate Island. The slave traders abandoned their slaves in the hull of the ship. Unable to escape, the slaves were eaten alive by rats.
There she is. To my understanding, few were killed in the crash itself, though the traders did not free their still-living human cargo. Instead, they left them shackled in the ship's hull, where slowly the needles were consumed by rats.
In their reincarnated form, these slave traders are forced to constantly suffer a similar fate as the slaves did trapped in the hull of the ship, which is why feasters have a colony of rats living inside their stomach, eating them from within. Because of their massive size and weight, they are not hard to spot and make the ground shake when they walk. The clanking sound of their ball and chain is noticeable as well. Feasters emerge from large bodies of water, such as the ocean of Carnate's beach. When feasters die, they release the colony of rats they have in their stomach as one final attack. The feaster rats then rush towards the player and explode when close. Bullets have no effect on feasters. The only way to kill them is by using explosive weapons or cutting them open with a shiv or a fire axe. Molotov cocktails are effective at killing them and their rats as well, when they're released after the feaster dies. Their main attack is to strike the ground in front of them with their ball and chain, causing a damaging shockwave. This attack is devastating and can potentially kill the player with one hit. Feasters may expel a swarm of rats out of the scar on their stomach to attack the player. If the player is too close, feasters can also smack the player with the back of their hand. Feasters can also charge for a short amount of time, slamming into the player and causing lots of damage. Feastering rats are a swarm of little black rats that are covered in blood and make little squeaking sounds. They usually attack in swarms of 6 to 8. You will usually only see them when they come out of a feaster. The only time you see these rats without a feaster present is when you're traveling through the sewers leading to North Beach. Feaster rats only have one attack. The entire swarm will rush you, jump at you, and explode in midair. The explosion causes little damage. However, when a lot of them are exploding at the same time, the damage can add up and be way more severe. Most often, you don't have to worry about killing them because they self-destruct on their own. However, you can kill them by shooting rapidly against the ground, and explosives are effective too.
Has the devil trapped you? You're not a bad man. You have to believe.
At first they seem like a harmless little girl in a white Puritan dress and sometimes holding a doll. However, in their aggressive form, they have black charred skin, their dress becomes tattered and covered in soot, and they ignite like a flame. Infernos are the representation of death by being burned alive. Infernos are believed to be connected to 3 little girls who made false witchcraft accusations back in the 1600s. And led to the death of 11 innocent people who were executed by being burned alive.
My wife told me the story of this place. 300 years ago, there was a Puritan village on this island. 3 young girls accused villagers of being in league with the devil. There were burnings. I think this is where they did it. They feared evil from within, but they did not see the real enemy.
The 3 little girls then took their own life by jumping off a cliff into the ocean. This is implied in the game when the Infernos are seen jumping off a cliff. After this scene, the Infernos are not seen again. Infernus are one of the least common malefactors you encounter on Carnate Island. They move fast, so they're difficult to kill, and you'll have to move quick to evade their attacks. Once they take significant damage, they'll reduce to a pile of ash. However, if the pile of ash is not destroyed, they will revive into their fire form and have to be defeated again. Signs Infernus are present in the area are sounds of little girls giggling, small fiery footsteps, and chain link fences that have been burned through. You may also see them running around in their human form. Infernus can also emerge from existing fires. A sign that an inferno will spawn from a fire is a hissing noise resembling a child's laughter. When you hear this, toss a grenade into the fire to kill the inferno before it spawns. Infernus can't be harmed in their human form because they have a protective aura that stops all bullets in the air before hitting them. The bullets then fall to the ground. Infernus enter their aggressive form when you approach them. Infernus are susceptible to all forms of damage in both their aggressive flame form and ash form. However, guns do little damage against them. Explosives are the most effective weapon against Infernus, and the Tommy gun is effective as well. It's best to learn the Infernus movement patterns before engaging them. When they are in their ash form, 7 shots from any gun are required to destroy them. If you fail to destroy them in time, however, they will return back to their flame form, fully healed. Infernus leave a dangerous path of fire behind them when they move. Their main attack strategy is to trap the player in a circle of fire. Infernus also have an area attack in which they send out flames in all directions, reaching 6 to 8 yards in radius. So when dealing with Infernus, make sure not to get trapped and keep your distance.
What are they doing? Won't they let the dead rest?
Why did they believe us? We never thought they'd really do it. It all went wrong. It was fun, at first. We didn't like them. We made them go away.
In the game, you'll encounter several bosses. The main bosses are Hermes T. Height, the gas chamber executioner, Horace P. Gage, the electric chair guy, Torque's Hatred, the final boss. Hermes T. Height is a sadistic murderous ghost that appears as a green transparent vapor forming the shape of a tall, thin human figure and gives the appearance of a decaying old man. He speaks in a slow, low-pitched, monotone voice. He breathes slowly, as if savoring the taste of his own toxic gas. Because Hermes travels as a transparent cloud of toxic gas, he moves without making noise and is almost invisible. Before his death, Hermes was an executioner in Abbot Prison for 27 years. Hermes' preferred method of execution was the gas chamber, and he really enjoyed his job, as he would gain satisfaction from killing inmates, giving him a sense of power and control. He ended up taking his own life in the prison's gas chamber, and ever since his death, prison staff and inmates claim to have seen his ghost. Most of the sightings are inside the old gas chamber or near grates and open pipes. Hermes' objective is to drive the protagonist, Torque, into unleashing the evil within him. Hermes doesn't kill Torque because he wants to test his potential as a killer, and encourages Torque to give into his dark side. Hermes openly admits he enjoys killing. Throughout the game, Hermes kills without hesitation, suffocating anyone he comes across with his toxic gas. Hermes enjoys taunting his victims as they die. The only regret Hermes has in his life is that he never got to kill a woman, and because of this, he envies the protagonist Torque, because Torque allegedly killed his ex-wife.
That's right. I read about your life, you sick bastard. Put me to shame. I never got to snuff a woman.
This implies that if Hermes hadn't been obsessed with the prison's gas chamber, he would have most likely seeked out victims as a serial killer. Hermes' main attack is using his toxic fumes to suffocate people and trapping people in confined spaces where they can't escape. Horace P. Gage is the second boss you'll face. He appears as an inmate restrained to an electric chair. He has a burn scalp, face, and hands due to the burning of the electric chair. However, Horus is freed from the electric chair by Torque during their battle, and in exchange, Horus helps Torque escape. Horus is often witnessed near sources of electricity. When he was alive, Horus was sent to Carnate Island prison under physical assault charges. During his time at Carnate prison, however, Torque was driven insane and became paranoid. He started worrying about his wife's safety since he was not with her to protect her while he was in prison. Horus's madness led him to kill his wife when she visited him at the prison, because in his twisted mind, he believed that killing her was the only way to keep her safe. Horus was sentenced to death for the murder of his wife. He was executed by electric chair. Now, his spirit is forced to relive his execution for eternity. That was until Torque helped free him. Driven by guilt from his past actions, which he claims the Carnate Prism drove him to do it, Horus tries to help Torque. Horus is the complete opposite of Hermes. Horus' objective is to help Torque resist the influence of the Iceland and help him escape the prison so he doesn't suffer the same fate as him. Horus also encourages Torque to pursue the morally good path. Torque's hatred is the final boss of the game. It represents all the anger and wrath inside the game's protagonist, Torque, and appears to be an amalgamation of different creatures. It resembles a giant version of Torque's creature self wrapped in chains. A smaller version of Torque hangs from the creature's belly button. The creature has 3 appendages on its back that shoot fireballs, and has a barbed halo on its head. The creature's only weak point is its exposed heart, which can only be hurt by Killjoy's rebirth machine. The rebirth machine is a device made by Dr. Killjoy, a psychiatrist and medical practitioner who conducted extreme experiments on the patients of the Carnate Island Asylum. These experiments were most often controversial and resulted in the death of the patients. Dr. Killjoy died years ago. The cause of his death is unknown, but throughout the game, he aids the protagonist. Right before Torque's final battle with Torque's hatred, Dr. Killjoy gives Torque access to the rebirth machine, which allows Torque to fire energy as a weapon. It is a crucial tool for defeating the final boss. After defeating Torque's hatred, Torque will receive one of the 3 different endings depending on the moral decisions he made throughout the game. That was my review on the various creatures from the PS2 game, The Suffering. I'll be covering the game's sequel in a future video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you for watching.